Welcome to the RVA Affiliate Collective podcast, where we share stories around the business of fitness and other things going on in the local RVA fitness community. Be sure to check out our collective shop at rvaaffiliatecollective.org and give us a follow on Instagram at RVA Affiliate Collective. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Collective Podcast. I'm here with Jacob Keller of River City Fit. I'm really excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, Jacob Keller. I am the owner and operator of River City Fit. And, you know, I also love playing games on my phone. I don't know.
Yeah, nice. So where did the idea for this place come from?
Yeah, so I was actually working at CrossFit Prelude up the street as the head coach. And I had been having thoughts of kind of owning my own space, or at least managing my own space, just because I was constantly yearning higher level roles. And yeah, so I probably I'm a pretty abrasive person. I don't really check my personality when I walk into new relationships. And so, yeah, it's hard for me too. You know, I kind of go full fledged. I'm 100% in, and I let people kind of feel the weight of who I am. Not that I'm like trying to make them feel the weight. It just kind of happens. So like immediately, probably like 4 months into this new job as a head coach there, I was like, hey, you know, like, you ever thought about opening another location? I'd love to be your guy, like manage another location. And it's like 4 months into this job. It's like, hey, buddy, whoa, maybe you should kind of earn your right here. And, you know, so I kind of sat back, and I'm somebody who likes to move quickly on things. And owner wasn't really looking to move quickly on things, or at least it didn't seem like he was trying to move quickly. And then I kind of saw that place starting to tank a little bit for reasons that we don't really need to talk about, but
It seems like they're always looking for coaches.
Yeah,
they've got like a permanent.
There's definitely a pattern of coaches coming and going.
Yeah,
and
I've never been. I don't know the owners, but just from outside looking in, it seems like people are always. They used to coach there, or you hear people
right,
who used to
or like
there, yeah.
You know, like I went to college with the coach at Fit Factory now, Sandy, and she also happened, we weren't here at the same time, but in Fredericksburg, we went to the same gym, Bio CrossFit. And, but, you know, she used to be the head coach there. Yeah. And then I actually took over her position when she unceremoniously left. Mm-hmm. Not that, you know, it was her fault or anything, but just, you know, talking to members after the fact, they were a little bit upset. But anyways, for those reasons, you know, I was like, man, I need to start thinking about opening my own spot. And so originally I was thinking across the river in Forest Hill, and actually right where Vazen and Charm School was going up, right across from Westover Elementary. Okay. And still having that idea. But, you know, I was just driving around looking for locations. And this one was open. It had been vacant for a year and a half. Oh. And so I knew I could get a pretty decent deal on the building, because I knew the owners were probably chomping at the bit for a deal. And
did you go through an agent or anything for that?
Yeah, so I went through the leasing agent through Tallheimer. And it was just jarring with him back and forth. And you know, I had some business savviness to me. Like I knew that I could get my way a little bit more because of their situation with, you know, they're paying the property tax on this and the utilities and not making any money. So, you know, I could definitely, I don't want to say exploit, because that kind of makes me seem terrible.
Well, I think some new business owners, they don't understand how to even negotiate a lease, much less who to ask or who to trust about that process, or that they can.
Right.
They kind of get something handed in front of them. They assume it's a good deal and kind of sign it. So it's good that you went in with that kind of barter mentality, because at the end of the day, it's nice to have certain things in the lease.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. And, you know, I think even when I go for the renegotiation of this lease, like I'll draw on somebody else's expertise. On this first go around, like I just did it all myself. Yeah. But on the next, you know, trying to find savvy ways to like, I don't know, get the bathrooms redone for free, get 6 months free rent or something, or, you know, figure out a way to finagle a deal that's, you know, in my favor.
What was it like in the early days? Not that long ago, right? You opened up 4 months ago. I was actually here.
You were here for day one. Yeah,
I was here for day one. But outside looking in, yeah, it looks like a fun, awesome time. Very exciting to open up your first gym. But
totally.
I believe you were doing a lot of prep work and stuff. So maybe even those early days, what was it like putting things together, getting the website up? Like, how was all that? Yeah. Obviously exciting.
Totally. Man, in hindsight, I wish I would have enjoyed it more in the moment when I was going through the process. Because I'm somebody who likes to move quickly on things, the process for opening this place was not quick, or was not slow by any means. It was very fast. Like, I probably put in my 2 weeks, and then I think 2 weeks later I opened.
Okay. Wow.
Granted, the prep in my brain was far longer than that. It was probably like in January, started thinking about opening my own place. But I was still in the process of trying to buy CrossFit Prelude. I was considering buying it, and I was trying to negotiate that deal, and negotiations just kind of fell through. And then I started moving really quickly on the idea and concept that I wanted for this place. And so probably I set up the LLC in end of March. Actually, like probably the week that the CrossFit Open ended in March. I think March 27th was the day I set it up. And then, you know, I opened May 11th. And so the early days, I mean, it was a lot of sitting in City Hall. I mean, going to City Hall and trying to get the permits for this building, and, you know, making, like, the city's just slow on stuff. So if you want to get something done, like, you got to be on them. Yeah. And so I went to City Hall. So I went to City Hall, put in the application, waited 4 weeks because I thought they were going to be really slow. They still hadn't gotten back to me. So then I went 5 days in a row and sat in City Hall and just said, hey, what's the deal? What's the deal? What's the deal? Come on. I need you out here so I can get the permits, so then I can start putting all this together. And so then they finally got somebody out here and got the permits. And I remember the night before we opened, so May 11th was the opening, the night before, like I was still having equipment being delivered to, obviously we didn't have mats on the first day. Right. And we didn't have mats for the first week. Yeah. And, but I remember like I called my father-in-law up and I was like, hey, I need you to get here. Like I need to get this rig up before tomorrow. And it's like halfway up and the drill bits aren't working. And so like, I'm like, get up. And he's like very calm and I'm like frantic. And he's like, yeah, I'll be up there. I'll see you tomorrow. And so then we just knocked it out in a couple hours. And then it was just like mopping the place up, getting all the debris that we had to kind of like drill the concrete. And you can see that we kind of cut pieces out of the drywall there. But, you know, it was stressful, but I thrive off of surviving, being in survival mode. Sure, the pressure and the, like even in the early days of, I mean, we're still in the early days of like, you know, like I was saying before we started this, like being strapped for cash, like I feel in my element here, you know, like trying to be like really efficient business wise, also that like the client experience is not affected. Right. You know?
Yeah. What is it? Net necessity is the mother of invention, right?
For sure. For sure. Yeah. Yep. Floor's not even finished here, you know, but like, nobody cares. Honestly, people, it's like staple, you know? Like,
yeah.
You know, so.
Oh man, that's funny. About the city hall process. Was there anything that you wish you had known other than obviously staying on them, which, you just have to learn on it as you go? Was there anything like use permits or anything that maybe you didn't need or you felt like you wanted or had to go through maybe the ringer on?
Here's the thing is I probably could have gotten away with not having the right permits. Just because this was zoned for, like it was already zoned properly. And I knew that by just looking at a zoning map.
Right, that's good.
Yeah, right. So I didn't have to get the zoning changed. And it was really funny. The person came out here from the zoning department anyways, and they're like, hey, meet me at the building at this time. And then she showed up. He's like, what's this going to be? I was like, it's going to be a gym. She's like, all right, you good. And just rolled out. And I was like, what the?
Yeah, someone's got to just check the box, right?
Pretty much. I was like, you guys couldn't have done this in an email or, but. Yeah,
because I was under the impression that if it's zoned right, you kind of just go. Just from outside looking in, I couldn't find a whole lot of info.
And that's what I thought, but somebody from zoning had to come out here and just check that box off. But
you also had to get permits too.
Yeah, I had to get an occupancy permit.
Okay.
Which was completely, so zoning and permits are in the same location. They're different departments though, and so they had different people come out. But now I have the permits personal number of the guy. So if I ever need that again, I'm calling that guy.
There you go. So you had to get it approved to have like X amount of people in here, I guess.
Right.
And then the fire people had to come in and look.
Yeah, like emergency lights and the plumbing and just kind of the layout, making sure it was all. Yeah.
Yeah, I think some people, they hear get an industrial garage and put a name on the wall and that's it. Like they don't think about all those other little things.
Right, totally. And part of the reason for this location too, I mean, it's really nice in here, right? It's AC. It stays relatively cool in here. So it's not like the early days of like these CrossFit gyms where it was like in your garage or in a big warehouse, which is really nice to have. Like it's nice to have like 20-foot ceilings and a ton of space, but people much rather work out in an AC place than they would like where they're dying.
It saves your barbells too.
Saves
your equipment.
Saves the equipment.
Stuff doesn't corrode.
Climate controlled. I mean, it's massive. Like I walk into some of these gyms and they're either selling their equipment but it's like all of your stuff is rusted. I'm not gonna buy this stuff. Yeah. But so it is nice, and I think honestly that's where, at least where I think where we need to go in terms of like fitness it'll slowly evolve into whatever I want it to be. Sure. But the client experience itself, like, I think people want to be comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in a city full of CrossFit gyms that could distinguish you, right?
Correct.
So another thing, right? You don't have CrossFit on the wall. I do see you're affiliated, but what was the idea behind that, the thought process? It seems to be a trend right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had been having this thought like right when I started CrossFit coaching, which was 2.5 years ago, is I kind of got in there and I was just like, I'm like somebody who very analyzes things, and so I was looking at everything and I was like, it's so interesting to me that all of these people in this subculture, and this is just subcultures in general today, is like, they have this like these blinders on where it's like, this is the only thing that ever matters. How can nobody else like think this matters? And so like I knew that about CrossFit, where it was like, everybody who's a part of the subculture like is like super gung-ho, like this is the only thing that works, the only thing that matters. Like there's a little bit of an arrogance to it, and which is fine. I am biased. I think CrossFit is the best way to train.
Yeah, I mean they disrupted the industry. You get a little arrogance when you do that, I guess.
Totally, totally. And I mean, they're still fighting like NASA, NSCA, like all of those. So, they're doing a great job. But I knew that, or I felt like even back then, it was trending towards most people on the outside looking into the subculture only see the pinnacle, which is the games athletes. Yep. And for 99% of people, they're not going to relate, right? You know? And so unless you're able to get them in the door with, you know, your marketing, which is another thing, you know, like, what is my marketing saying about my gym? So obviously, I'm probably not going to have my best athlete in the gym be the face of my marketing, because that's going to be few and far between, right? I'm not going to have somebody in here doing 350 pound, 375 pound clean and jerk, because Sally, for all intents and purposes, and Johnny is only going to be able to clean and jerk like 115, you know? So just taking a look at, you know, what I think the market wanted is something in between. And this is why I'm a big fan of Stu at What the Fuck Gym Talk. And because I think he's exactly right when he says that, like, it's just like the market kind of wants some, there's these white spaces or these gaps, like Kalipa talks about, where, you know, there is this in between. There's like CrossFit, and then there's like Orange Theory and spinning and all this stuff. And it's like, if you can find those gaps in the market, I think you'll succeed.
Yeah, you're creating your own market, essentially. There's another gap between the Orange Theory and the 24-hour, right? 24-hour fitness.
Right.
And so you got to fill in that space in between, right?
Totally. Or you got to be willing to compete with the big players, you know, because, like, let's say if I really wanted to, I could do an Orange Theory thing in here where I get some, and this is actually something I've considered, but since then, you know, probably not, but you could get some heart rate monitors from Wodify because they sell them, and you could run your own Orange Theory class in here in your own way if you really wanted to, where you kind of utilize heart rate training. But it's all about, you know, what's your spin? What's going to make you different on this?
I'll say, and I talked about this with Anna on the other episode, that Orange Theory is not necessarily, it's their systems and processes, their relentlessness to follow up. So if you ever, you know, go through one of their funnels, you're theirs forever. Like, they're going to call you, they're going to follow up and follow up and follow up. They have all that down to a science. And I would say that the content or the actual product they're selling is effective, but it's not anything that CrossFit doesn't deliver.
Oh, definitely.
It's just that they're much better about delivering it than your independent business owner.
Totally agreed. Yep. And I think they really capitalize on operational capacity. You know, is they have these studios that, like, I mean, you look at my studio, and part of the reason I wanted such a big, I call it a studio, gym. I mean, you look at this place and it's like big, echoey, but I kind of wanted it that way because this area to me was so important in terms of, like, people wanted to hang out afterwards and chat and connect. And that's really the biggest piece for me, is because in terms of longevity and keeping people healthier for longer, or even just keeping them for longer in the hopes that they're going to get healthier, connection. I mean, who are they connected to in this gym? If they're just coming by themselves and don't have a friend here, I'm more than likely going to lose them.
Yeah. I mean, what do they say? If you want to go far, go together, right?
Yeah, totally. And I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some common misconceptions about what it is you do? Like, if someone came up on the street and said, "Oh, River City, what's that on your hat?" or whatever, "What do you do?" And you tell them, and they're going to respond with something, and you can be like, "No, that's not it at all."
I don't know what the misconception.
Like, you must work out all the time, right? That's one of the things. You must be super fit.
Misconceptions about me in general,
like
or
what you do. Like, you say, "Oh, I'm a gym owner," and they're going to respond with, "Oh man, that must be so cool. You just work out." Or, that's one of them, right?
My favorite misconception is that, I mean, like, when you're not coaching, you must just be hanging out. or like doing whatever.
Sipping coffee.
Like reading, like doing all your fun stuff, doing podcasts. Yeah. No, I'm like, man, I am like at my computer sending emails because I'm the CRM here, because I haven't, I'm not passing that off because I think I'm the best relationship manager. One, because I care the most about this place and I care about the people in this place.
Sure, you have vested interest.
Yeah, I got some stake. Yeah. But that's the funniest misconception to me. They're like, oh, you must you only work like 4 hours a day coaching classes. And I'm like, no, I do coach a lot of classes, but I'm also like making content and thinking about posting schedules and following up on emails.
Unclogging the toilet.
Unclogging the toilet. Yeah. Well, I'm not doing that.
No?
Luckily, nobody's clogged the toilet yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But, thinking about all of those things kind of takes up time. So it's kind of funny that even my wife sometimes gets like that, which is really funny.
Really?
Sometimes I talk to her, I'm like, do you think I don't work all day? Do you think my mind is
You're just hanging out with your friends all day.
Yeah, exactly. And then even coaching, when you think about coaching, if you think about somebody who's a really good coach, who is emotionally invested in whoever's right in front of you, that takes a level of being on.
Yep.
And
it's a performance.
It is a performance. I mean, when somebody walks in through the doors, it's immediately, hey, how's it going? How was your day? Because that's going to dictate what I tell them for the workout. Because if somebody comes in and is like, oh, I had just a long day. I've had a long week. I'm tired. Like, that's going to dictate how I talk to them, how I tell them how to do this workout, the contents of the workout. Like, we're probably going super scaled that day. And then it's going to be emotionally taxing if they're like, I want to go hard at this workout. And then I got to talk them off the ledge. I'm like, no, you don't want to do that. We're going to go over here and do this, and so it takes a level of being on that I think people don't realize. And especially, I'm extroverted, but the older I've gotten more introverted. And so being slightly more introverted now, it takes work to be that extroverted level, when you're in those situations. And
to always bring it, right?
Yeah.
Because
exactly. When you're trying to motivate somebody.
Always bringing it.
Yeah, totally. You get it. You're a coach.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Hey.
This just in. I no longer coach.
Hey,
Got the
if
L2.
you want to come coach, man, just let me know. Give me a shout.
Gyms are never short of needing to fill hours with coaches.
Yeah. Some gyms maybe don't need any more coaches, but
It's true. Why do you think people fail in your industry?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I think a lot of these, in terms of the CrossFit space, I think a lot of these people probably started their gym because they wanted a place to train. The other thing, this is the great thing about CrossFit, and the worst thing about CrossFit is they have a weekend class where information is given to you hyper focused for 8 hours a day, 2 days in a row. You take a test, pass, fail. You either pass or you don't. Yeah. And then guess what? If you really wanted to, you could go open up your own CrossFit affiliate. Yeah. Now, because of that, which is great that it's really accessible.
Yeah, low barrier to entry.
Low barrier to entry.
Best gym wins, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but with that, it's created a lot of unprofessional places that people are going to and actually seeking help, where the gym owner is probably a little more vested, or at least this has been in the past. I don't know. I think it's changing currently, but I think in the past, people have been more invested in their own training than actually training people, and so I think really it's just business expertise, business savviness, where it is are we negotiating the best deal in the building? Are our business processes flawless right now? Are we looking at the operations manual and actually referencing it in coaches meetings and saying, hey, are we actually doing this? Because it looks like we're not doing this. And then
having some sort of quality.
Yeah, having some quality checks there. Like even I'm kind of disappointed in myself right now. I don't have a camera system in here. That's not so I can watch coaches and like keep up to, that's like, but it's like, hey, how can we improve? Yeah. That's part of improving coaches, like having that so we can reference, hey, like how many times did you cue somebody during this hour? I can look back on the video and say, oh, you only cued somebody like 5 times in an entire hour. That's not good.
Yeah, it's more of a teaching tool, right?
Yeah,
than
exactly.
A scolding tool.
Yeah, than an eye in the sky, I'm watching.
Yeah. At CFNE, they give feedback after every class.
Yeah, and that's incredible.
There's a peer review system.
Yeah, that Chasing Excellence podcast is a lot of good information.
Yeah, it's almost as good as this one. Episode 2.
For sure.
I had the pleasure of going up there and doing his affiliate immersion program.
Okay, cool.
So I spent 2 days learning how they chase excellence and everything they do from the front end to the back end.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was awesome. I would say that's the best kind of thing you can do is to
maybe I should
pull the curtain back and do that. They do one like every other month or so.
Nice.
It's worth it.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of your question, I think business savviness, from everything that goes into a business, like marketing is a big one too.
Sure.
I don't think people are asking themselves when they make a post or when they post like on their Instagram or their Facebook or their whatever they might be posting on, they're not asking themselves what story is being told when I post this and the caption that goes with it. Yeah. And I think more people need to be asking that question is what is the story that's being told? Because if we're not telling, and then the other thing is what is the story that you want to be told and identifying that because
you got to find your voice.
Right. Because then you're going to identify you should have your core focus, core values, and then that'll dictate what your market is for people. Like most of my clients are like pretty battered. Like because I am like, telling people like we are we're not like physical therapists in here, but we're movement specialists.
Sure.
And yes, we care way more about movement, like quality of movement than quantity of movement. And that's the biggest story that I can outwardly tell people because there's so many misconceptions on this type of training that we got to combat that, and that's the biggest story that I think I can tell, where somebody else might have a different story. Like S3E, looking at their Instagram, like I see a lot of endurance stuff, and I think they've done a pretty good job at telling the story that we help endurance athletes. Sure. Because it's funny, one of my members actually came in here and they're like, have you ever heard of S3E? I'm considering doing like triathlon training with them. And I'm like,
yeah, that is their specialty for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they do a great job of telling people that. And I think Matt does a good job with his personal Instagram too.
Yeah, that's the thing I've noticed is there's a fine line between a business Instagram having a personal touch and it being a personal Instagram. And
sure.
I've seen some posts, even in the RVA area, that I question if they should be from a business name account.
Totally.
Whether it's politically charged or somewhat insulting of a certain demographic or whatever you name it. And it takes me back because I realize the business immaturity of some of these owner operators is it's not quite there.
Yeah.
And even down to like, punctuation and spelling of things. It's like, it's not like, you can have a mistake every now and then, but like you got to proofread a little bit. It just looks like it was hastily posted. Totally. Right? It's got that post look that it's like, man, this was just thumbed together real quick on a phone and fired without any thought. And there's no, like you said, no real target story behind it.
Well, and if anybody's looking for social media posts, like this will be the helpful piece is Canva. If you don't use Canva to curate your content, it's free. They have templates, easily curate. I'm sure CrossFit Pushing Weight uses Canva.
I'm a big fan of Later, which
there's a
schedule. It schedules all your posts ahead of time and fires them off on a schedule. And it's like, why aren't you just sitting down for an hour on Sunday, putting your entire week's story together and then letting it roll. Like, why are you having to remember at 9 a.m. on Monday to post something? Right. It just blows my mind. And these business owners like, that's just what they've done. And they haven't thought about needing to do anything more. They think, oh, that's only if you're really big and you have a lot of staff members. It kind of goes back to the coaches meeting thing. A lot of businesses don't do that because they're like, well, why would we need a coaches meeting? We're here all the time and we just pass info here and there. And
there's even something about developing your culture, and because I really truly believe that happens from the top down. And so if you're not creating a culture within your coaches of at least hanging out once a month, nobody in your gym's going to do that.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. You got to eat your own food, right?
Yeah. Like sometimes our coaches meetings, we're like, we're not even harping on anything business related. I'm just like, let's hang out.
Checking in with them, making sure
check in. How's life?
Happy,
You know, like you happy? You happy with what's going on here? You just happy in general in your life? Because I mean, that's going to translate to happy clients. You know,
definitely.
So
yeah, you gotta. Some companies, you know, they put the clients first, their staff second, and in my mind, I feel like the better approach is always put your staff first.
Totally.
And they'll take care of your clients.
Totally. Yeah. You won't have to worry about it.
You don't have to worry about it. Whereas all it takes is one disgruntled coach to
dismantle,
make a very toxic situation.
Yeah.
Right? And then leave with half your clients and open up their own gym, right?
Totally. Well, and that's the other thing is because of the lack of business savviness, I mean, all your coaches should be on contracts. And if they're not on non-compete contracts, I mean, you're going to get burned if you aren't managing those relationships well.
That's interesting. So you don't have to go into too much detail. You actually put coaches on some sort of non-compete?
Yeah.
How does that look like? If I were your coach and then I quit and went down the street, I wouldn't be able to coach? Or
Yeah, so no, it's not that you wouldn't. You would be able to coach. You'd be able to offer that service because it's a contracted service. Like, so you'd be able to coach. You just wouldn't be able to like open up your own like facility, essentially. I need to go back and review that contract.
Might be important.
I probably should know that on here, right? No,
it's all good. Like you said, sometimes you don't review this. That you made them and they serve their purpose.
But like, I mean, you should review those stuff, right? But it serves a purpose right now where I think, and really the only thing that you can do with like a subcontract, you can only really enforce that like a year. Like you can't, it's not like you can enforce it indefinitely. Like in this square mile radius, you can't open up.
That's interesting. I don't know.
Well, that's why like you need to, you should know the difference as a business owner. Do you want to make them an employee?
Right.
Or do you want to keep them a contract?
Yeah, because that's interesting. I can't imagine in the CrossFit affiliate model, Greg Glassman ever holding somebody to that. Like the kind of values that he shares of, I don't care if they open up next to each other, the better gym's going to survive, right?
Totally.
And then the idea of a coach, leaving to start their own business. It's interesting because that's kind of what you did.
Yeah, he'd probably applaud that.
If you were on a non-compete, would you have been able to do what you did?
So, I hate to admit, so do I want to share this?
Which is interesting because it's like, if you're holding your coaches to it and like, you knew how badly you wanted to open up and you wanted to do your own thing, carve your own path.
So I'll share this. I don't mind. Maybe this is one of those things where it's like, if you wanted everybody to like you, you should have just went and sold ice cream, because then everybody would love you.
The dairy people don't like you.
Well, then even then you would still be hated.
You always find someone.
Right.
Yeah.
But as I was thinking about opening this place, I did sign a contract for a year. And so I was reviewing it. I went, because when I was thinking about opening this place, obviously I was thinking about going across the river. So in terms of infringing that contract, not a massive deal because I'm in a completely separate market over there. I would even say I'm in a completely separate market here.
Yeah, I would say so.
I
would say 3-4 miles is almost a new market in a downtown location.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so, when I was thinking about opening up, I was reviewing that contract, and I had a lot of different people look at it because I was just, I didn't want to get in trouble. And so there was a non-compete clause, and there was also a non-recruitment clause. And so in terms of like the non-compete, it just wasn't very enforceable the way that it was written. So it was just a really poorly written contract. And so that was just kind of shame on the business owner. Like, you should have written a better contract.
So have good contracts made.
Have good contracts made. Step one.
The non-recruitment's interesting.
The non-recruitment is interesting. So in non-solicitation.
I can see the solicit. Like, obviously, you wouldn't want a coach saying, "Hey, come to my new gym. I'm opening it up tomorrow." You know,
totally. And here's the thing:
we're stealing all your clients,
right? And here's the thing: I made sure that I followed those clauses to a T. Never once did I ask somebody when I was opening this place, "Hey, come to my gym. I want you at my gym. Like, come on." Like, I was just like, I put in my 2 weeks, and people were like, "Oh my gosh. Where are you going?"
Everyone asks that.
Yeah.
I recently went through that.
Yeah. And I was like, I think I'm going to start my own gym.
Oh, okay.
Period. And then I wouldn't say anything else after that. If they asked me where it was going to be, I would tell them where it was going to be, but only if they asked me questions would I actually relinquish information. I wouldn't, because I just didn't want to get into that gray area where, like, am I going to get a lawsuit or not? Like, am I gonna have to deal with this? Because especially when I'm starting a business and you're strapped for cash, if you get into a lawsuit, it's like, see ya business, so.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting, and I just made sure I was clean of all that stuff. And
yeah, I mean, you got to look out for your business. You got to look out for yourself.
Right.
Whatever you can do.
Totally. Right? And I mean, ultimately, it's the reason I operate in that way is like, this thing is a vehicle. I'm serving the people inside the vehicle. And so I need to make sure that this vehicle stays running so they can get from point A to point B.
Yeah. I mean, the clients at the end of the day, they're the ones who suffer from whatever goes on in the business, right?
Yeah. So making sure that stuff is taken care of it's funny. You go into business to do that. And I think that's why a lot of people fail, is they lose sight of, you're a business owner. You are not an athlete, a coach, someone's friend. Like, you are the business owner. You got to take care of business, So, it is what it is.
Well, what gets you excited to come in and flip on the lights every day and get
Dude,
out of bed?
Yeah, totally. I mean, people ask me, they're like, "You got up at 4:30 for 4 months in a row?" I was like, "Yeah, I did." Not hard. When you care about this thing so much, passion and caring. Like, when you care about somebody trying to get off their medication, somebody losing the weight and going from the obese category in terms of BMI, which we won't even get started on the BMI conversation and how bad of a measurement it is. But it's still, the metric is there. And when that metric gets better, and somebody comes and tells you, and they're like so thankful and showing you so much gratitude for, oh my gosh, I lost this much weight. Like, my outlook on life is better. I have this confidence. That will get you up easily, way more than the coffee will at 4:30, right? Like, that alarm will go off and you'll have that moment of, man, I'm tired. Hey, but guess who's coming in at 5:30 a.m. to get their sweat in? Like,
Sally's going to get her first push-up today, right?
There we go. Like, we're going to get after it, and so that's really what it boils down to, is what gets me excited is somebody doing XYZ first, or the improvement. Like, some guy started, I'll never forget this story, and this is going to be on the podcast that I start just within the gym for like getting to know members, is there's this guy named JD, walks in here, he's 23, and he walks in here, and he's like, "Hey, how much are prices here?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, it's like this, and this, and like, this is how our membership works, but we kind of, we do PT first. So like, here's how, and he's like, yeah, sign me up for that unlimited." And I'm like, whoa, dude, like, hold on a second, like, don't you want to like try a class, or like also PT first? I don't know if you heard that. And he's like, yeah. Well, I was like, why don't you come try a class first? And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll come back at 7. He comes back for the 5:45 class, gets his sweat in. And so I talked to him afterwards. I'm like, so what are your thoughts on this? He's like, yeah, I still want to sign up for the unlimited. And I'm like, all right, fine. We'll do it. Sign up for an unlimited. So we signed him up for unlimited. 4 months later, I mean, this guy has lost 45 pounds.
Awesome.
180 to his diet, 180 to his activity, and 4 months later, he's like lost 40 pounds, 45 pounds. I'm more confident. My sleep is better. Like just my attitude at work is better. And that is also the biggest piece when we're talking about marketing. I mean, it's like, so change your whole life for your whole life is essentially the idea behind it. And so that'll get you up in the morning. You know, there'll be days where it's like,
it's a job.
Yeah, it's a job, you know, where you're not that excited to come in. Maybe something like, I don't know, it just becomes a little bit stale, but you know, it'll invigorate you pretty often if you're doing it right. You know, if you're coaching effectively and people are getting new things and you're having the constant conversation of nutrition plus activity, people will see the results and then they'll keep coming back and then you'll continue to be happy because you have a thriving business and you are helping people at the end of the day, you know.
You mentioned your onboarding process a little bit. So you give them the option of a free class, but you would prefer they would do PT? Or?
It depends. So it's not like you get a free class and then you can join, you know, like I'll give people the front end offer of you can try a free class and then we'll have a conversation of we're going to go through at least 3 personal training sessions in order to get you competency in the movements and terminology that we use in here so that the rest of the client experience isn't messed up. Yeah. You know, because let's say, and some gyms do this, but my nightmare is that I have more than one person who has never Olympic lifted. Like we're doing snatches that day and there's like 2 people who have never done snatches and I'm like, but I have 15 people in class and 2 people who have never done snatches. Those 2 people are probably going to have a bad experience or they're going to have a kick-ass experience and the rest of my 12 people are going to have a bad experience. Yeah.
I mean, there's a time and place for breaking down the snatch and really going through it through drills and stuff. But then there's also experience level is always different, and even experienced athletes can learn from the drills. But you could always, scale them to, power snatches, or scale them to
like a dumbbell
snatch, right?
Yeah. That's the big thing is we scale with dumbbells. Yep. Like if you're new, if you're taking a free class, you don't even think about the barbell. Yeah. We're giving you a dumbbell, no doubt, no questions asked. And my coaches know that too. It's like if somebody new comes in, and that's the other thing, the process for somebody new. If somebody new just shows up and they're like, "Hey, I want to take a class," it's like, okay, cool. Like we have the processes in place and the way and the mindset to think about it where it's like, okay, somebody new, they are doing this, 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 and this, and they're not doing all of these, They're
not going to try the handstand walk on the first day.
Exactly. Right. So the onboarding process, sometimes we have a front end offer running on the website where it's like a lead platform sheet where it's like, hey, we're offering a free PT session or a free class or a free nutrition consultation. Enter your info in, we'll email you, schedule a time, perfect. Or most of the time what the offer is book an intro where I'll show you the facility, we'll talk about our training programs, and we'll talk about you for the most part. Is we'll talk about the client. We'll talk about what are your goals? What is your past current? What is your current fitness regimen?
Is that to prescribe them more PT if you think that would benefit them more, or just to? A
lot of it is for us to get to know what their past injuries are, so then we can appropriately prescribe things. And so we have a I say a file. It's not very organized file right now. Bad business owner. But we have all of those intro sheets of anybody who's ever been through this door, who is currently a member especially. And so we can draw on that and say, oh, these are what your goals were when you walked in here. Maybe we need to make new goals because we've reached these goals, or you have this injury or this disease or, what have you, where I can be like, oh, you have this. I'm not going to have you do X, Y, Z, Sure. And so it goes from there. And then I'll always do, unless you come in and say, yeah, I've done Olympic lifting before. if you say you've done Olympic lifting before, I'll call your bluff and then I'll have you do some of the movements in the intro. But if you've never done Olympic lifting before, you're going to do some PT. And we always mandate at least 3. And then at the end of 3, either we say, hey, I think you're ready for group classes. I think you're ready for this. Or we say, hey, I would love for you to enter group classes, but maybe we also do some PT on the side to build more competency in these movements, because you're only going to get so much with a general physical prepared program, and the PT side or the individualized design side, we can give you way more that you're going to be able to do. And honestly, your results are probably going to be met faster. Your goals are going to be met faster ultimately. And so when you're able to communicate that to people, it's not hard for them to be like, I'm all in, But a lot of times people aren't able to communicate that. And if you don't have an onboarding process, I highly recommend that you really start contemplating what your onboarding process is. I mean, I think everybody should be PT first. Couple reasons. One, it's going to build movement competency a lot faster, which is going to improve your current client experience, because you're not going to be spending so much time with Johnny on how to do an air squat, which is one of the most foundational things. And that's going to take away from everybody else's coaching. But also it's going to be added revenue. I mean, at the end of the day, it is going to be a little bit more in terms of building your business health. So it's twofold there. And that's most everything in here is twofold. It's like, obviously it's all a means to an end to make sure that your client is getting the best possible service.
Yeah, definitely. So for the goal setting, you go like quarterly and sit down. Do you have a process for that to kind of reestablish those?
I mean, I have the process in my head.
Right. Because you mentioned your CRM, and so I didn't know if you were automating all those click funnels and all that stuff fires off automatically, schedules them automatically, or
No. We don't have a ClickFunnels account. We don't have any of that stuff. It is all me. And
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know, right? But I'm okay with it being me for right now, mainly because it goes all back to that strapped for cash type thing, where I'm willing to wear this many hats for a certain amount of time. And then I can start really scaling this thing where, maybe I can hire a full-time coach, and then I'll still coach, but it'll be more, they'll be operating daily stuff. And then I'll be focusing on, like, maybe I personally can sit down with each individual member and go through their goals with them. Because here's the other thing at the end of the day is I don't want to get too big for my britches in terms of like business processes. Because at the end of the day, I am a micro gym, meaning small gym, and so there is going to be a level of personal touch there that.
Sure. Yeah.
But with that being said, having a lot of those processes automated is definitely, great.
Yeah. I mean, the goal is to be able to take 4 weeks off and not have to interact with the gym, right?
Totally. Yep. At the end of the day, for sure.
Yeah. So,
for sure.
So what's next?
For RC Fit?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Reviewing those contracts?
I think this thing is early. It's 4 months. I think it's funny. I talked to everybody on, about how the gym's doing and everything, and they're like, I think we're at I want to say we're at something like 80 members in 4 months, which for a lot of people, that's like crazy to fathom. That's like, holy crap. Like you have gone from and it is crazy. Like, don't get me wrong. It's crazy. I mean, in terms of like percentage, if we're talking business percentage, like percentage growth, like this is not sustainable growth. Like it or at least it shouldn't be. But I'm hoping it's maybe this is sustainable.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm gonna retire next year. I don't know. But
that's the goal, right?
Yeah, right. But in terms of like RC Fit, I think in January I'm really considering hiring a full-time coach and operator I mean, in terms of daily operations, like I'll still take care of like CRM and
right,
stuff
the
like
higher
that.
value role, the thing that you feel
and
you
marketing.
can provide the most value for.
Totally.
And getting rid of some of those daily stuff that it
It
doesn't make a difference. Someone should do it, and I'm just doing it.
I think finishing out the facility is definitely a priority here. I actually have a front desk coming in here very soon, which is nice. Yeah, just like doing like things that a proper business has, like proper retail space. Like that retail space looks terrible. I knew you weren't going to say anything, but like
It's retail space.
That's the first thing that people see when they walk in the door, and that's not attractive, right? Or at least attractive as it could be.
Would you have a front desk person actually staffed there?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's something people miss.
Yeah,
they get the desk
totally.
and they get all the cool amenities and the retail store, and then they don't have anyone there.
Yeah, you got to have somebody.
So then the coach is running over to sell a shirt.
Yeah, it's not.
And to check people in, and it just makes it a mess.
So yeah, eventually I'll have a front desk person there. I'm really considering doing a towel service, just as kind of an added value. Finishing out like the interior design here, and really working with an interior designer to kind of flesh out the full vision of what I want RC Fit to be. Those are just a couple of things. I mean, I'm seriously considering a sauna in there. I'm not even lying to you. I just think that would be such a valid, like, in terms of like gyms like me, nobody has a sauna. Nobody has any amenities. Come on, So like, if we had an amenity, it would be awesome. And personally, I just want to be able to use a sauna.
You just want the sauna.
I just want the sauna. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Write off,
exactly. Write it off. Use it all the time. So doing stuff like that, and then thinking about negotiating the lease for the next. I don't know how many years I want here, or I want to stay here. Maybe I want to stay here 10 years. I don't know. Maybe I do negotiate a 10-year deal. I don't. Risky, but especially since you're liable for all that money. But I think there's a possibility of a second location in Richmond.
Really?
Yeah.
Already, you wouldn't think that making this a 200-member gym would be. I guess at the growth rate you're at, maybe that will be real soon. But you know what I mean?
Well, I think
capitalizing
and that's,
on one location.
That's not like it's not like I have like plans down for a second location, right? It's just something that I've thought of in my head where, let's say we do continue on this kind of trend of growth. A second location. This will be a 200-member gym by the end of the year, or the end of not the end of the calendar year, but the end of the year. I think of the year in terms of RC Fit years, May of next year. But it all depends. The thing, life moves quickly, right? So it's like
you said, you like to move quick, but
also there is a level of slowness where, like, this is my OG crew, and so like I do have a ton of emotional attachment to this group of people. And so I want to be a good leader to them and make sure that the service to them is like just paramount.
Yeah, I think it's important to think, what would a second location really provide that this location doesn't? Mm-hmm. Because you're essentially going to have to walk away from this location to get the other one up and running. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if this one suffers in the process, then it's not worth it. It's not helping you anyway, right? And I think a lot of people in our industry jump too soon.
Too soon, for sure.
And where I've seen some people just capitalize on one location, and they might have to move because they grow, but they just keep forging along with just one baby and make it the best one they can.
Definitely. And
there's no right or wrong either,
there is no right or wrong answer. I think at the end of the day, as long as this location is continuing to help people, then it's not, nothing else matters. Yeah. So from a business standpoint, the other things that I would create would only be so that I could build wealth for my family and retire.
Yeah, scalable wealth.
Do what I want, like I've considered doing online stuff and building the online presence through ClickFunnels and different subscription models in terms of like, how can I help people who don't want to go to a gym but just want to do things in the convenience of their home? And can I do that better than anybody who's already doing that? Is kind of
that's what a lot of people are trying to sell these days to gyms, is this online platform. And I struggle with that just because if someone comes into your gym and says, oh, I travel a lot, I just don't have time to come to your gym, but I still want to be a member and drop in like once a week and just get online programming. I think there's a fine line between the person's traveling and they will do it, and it's an easy sell because
they'll pay for it, and
they'll pay for it, but you kind of know that it's not what they need, right? If you're in the prescription business of prescribing somebody what they need, it just feels like a cop-out almost. And that's my view, and I know there's people who do it really well. Like you got companies that do it extremely well, right? But as an add-on to a physical location, I struggle with a little bit.
And this would be something completely separate from RC Fit.
It wouldn't be like a $50 membership of just online RC Fit. That's where I struggle with. It's like you got someone right there in front of you.
The only thing that I would do, like if somebody really wanted it, is that kind of individual design program,
like remote programming.
Let's say you have somebody on like a 3 times a week membership where like maybe they want to start coming to open gyms and they want to start doing like extra programming that they give you.
Sure.
That might be something that
I think there's always a benefit to supplementing.
But, I, in order for me to go through the progression of I'm going to start scaling an online like video workout tutorial thing, I would need to look at the industry as a whole and ask myself, really, do I think I can do this better than anybody who's already doing it out there? Because to me, it's not really where, like I'm not in it for the money. Like I'm in it to help people. And so if I'm just trying to sell a bunch of shit, then what's the point? And here's the thing. I have friends out in San Diego who are trying to become Instagram influencers. Like that is what they are trying to become.
I mean, that's the thing.
Is they're trying to become an Instagram influencer and their product isn't even, I'm like, I wouldn't pay for your product. I don't even think your product's valuable. You're just selling shit to people.
People buy that stuff.
And people buy it. And I'm like, what are you doing? So like, I'm not interested in making something that isn't going to actually affect lives, and not just like this own illusion in my head, right?
Sure.
Like there has to be some tangible results there. Yeah. Like there has to be the JD who walked in here, lost 45 pounds at my physical location, and then, somebody, like if I started an online thing, they subscribe to my YouTube workouts, they subscribe, and then they reach out to me and they're like, hey, on your YouTube workout tutorials, like in 12 weeks, I lost like 15 pounds and like I listen to your nutrition advice, like all of this stuff, and I'm like, my life has changed.
Free content will go a long way to building your brand.
Yeah, and that's what and that's what I'm starting to get into, is just making free stuff, mainly because I just like making it. Like I love digital storytelling and all of that stuff. So,
what advice would you have for other business owners in your industry in Richmond?
Surround yourself with people who are better than you, who know more than you, who have more experience than you, who have done it.
So mentors.
Mentors for sure. And honestly, one of the first people that I reached out to when I was thinking about opening this place was Jake Rao at RVA Performance. And I was just like, hey, what advice do you have for me? Because he's been in the game for 10 years.
Right. 2007.
2007, yeah, almost 10 years, or I guess 12 years, And so I'm like, man, this guy knows something. I need to draw on these expertise. And so...
There's something to being the first,
yeah,
right?
Totally. Well, there is something to that, right? But, also like Jason Khalipa, listening to his podcast, Ben Bergeron, listening to his podcast, Stu Brower, listening to his podcast. There is so much content and information out there for people who have been doing this longer and better than you that you should really be listening up.
Yeah. Why not learn from their 10 years of mistakes, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, like, a large part of, I have a large part of the success of this business already to attribute to those people and their expertise and their mistakes ultimately.
So listening to their podcast, reaching out to other business owners
Reaching out to
nearby,
other business owners, being, and I've done a poor job of this mainly because I've just been kind of like running around here, but like just kicking it with people and just picking their brain and talking to other people who are outside of your industry, like the salon next door.
Yeah.
I walk in there and I joke with them all the time. I'm like, man, you guys must love me. I just come in here and hang out with you guys all the time. And then I'm just constantly picking their brain. Like, what's your struggles with getting people in the door in your industry?
I mean, it's still client service based, right?
Totally. And so I think there's a lot to learn from even other industries of people where, and a lot of the struggles are the same. It's like leads, getting people through the door, and that's probably the biggest struggle for service-based industries anyways.
Yeah, keeping them
and then retention.
The retention.
Right, yeah. And honestly, if you only focused on one thing, retention, it's everything.
Well said.
I think if you are serving the people inside your building the best, there's no way they're not going to talk about it. So just make them as happy as you possibly can. I mean, and treat them well, reward them. I mean, like, let's say they are telling their friends, you should have a referral campaign at your place of business. Yeah. Like if you are not capitalizing on affinity marketing, you need to. Mm-hmm. Like that's step one.
Yeah, that's what Two Brain really pushes.
Totally. Yeah. Before you even think about click funnels and social media and all this stuff, just get your members to give you leads, referrals, reviews. Like if you don't have 35, 40, 50 Google reviews, send an email to all your members right now.
Give them something in return.
Yep. And then, we gave away, what did we give away? We gave away a $50 Starbucks gift card to like I said, whoever gives a review, we just, we'll pick somebody randomly. And then we pick somebody, and people loved it. I mean, people just immediately went on there and they're like, yeah, free Starbucks. Yeah, sure. And nobody even goes to Starbucks here. I talked to the guy who won the gift card. He's like, oh, this is awesome. I was like, a couple weeks later, I'm like, dude, how is it? Have you been using that gift card? Like on the road? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I use $10, but I hardly go to Starbucks. I'm like, oh, God. Next time I'll pick a different gift card.
Right. Yeah. A Visa card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's probably what people probably just want money off their membership anyways, Yeah. So
they just want to win something.
I
find that's it.
It's very
like
competitive.
They're so like amped up over winning something, and it's like they don't need it. They don't.
Totally.
But it's like, but I want it.
Totally. Yeah. And honestly, that's something that with I'm calling it the in-house competition, mainly because like externally, again, I'm branded and away from CrossFit, but like the Open starts this weekend. There is a great opportunity to give away so much free stuff to your members. Like, and just make it like this time of the year that
should be a
people
party.
Truly look forward to. Yeah. Like, for the first 4 weeks of the Open, we're having each team, so we're broken up into 4 teams here, bring like food and cater to the rest of the gym. And then, the 5th week, guess what? The gym is going to cater the whole thing. We're going to blow the roof off. Like, serve your members well. That's the best piece of advice I can give you. Serve your members well, and then don't be afraid to ask your members for leads and referrals.
Oh, smart. Yeah.
Because I think a large part of, especially people I've talked to in the CrossFit space, is the money conversation is really tough. Mm-hmm. Where like they don't want to ask for too much, but it's like, don't be afraid to ask, like raise your prices, like maybe your price too low.
Yeah. What was their pricing strategy? Did they look on their competitor's website and go, I'll go $10 under? Like that's my favorite one.
No.
Not yours, but I just mean that's my favorite one to hear. It's like, it shouldn't be based on like your rent and all these other things.
Your square footage, rent, like what you like your bills. Like you want to think about that.
It's like, no, I want to be $10 less than the other guy, and I'll have so many more members.
And actually, you'll find that people will pay that higher price. Like, I mean, for instance, I won't share prices, but like Shaka Bottom's priced lower than me. I saw that and I was like, I'm going to price myself higher. And I just believe, like if I truly believe, and this is just a focus on myself, not focus on anybody else, but if I truly focus in on what I got going on here and I believe that it is a premium product, it should be priced that way.
Definitely.
And so I think more business owners need to take a look at what their prices are. And Becky next door at the salon is really good at this. I talk to her all the time. I'm like, so like what are clients' biggest complaints here? And I'm like, the price. Like some people walk in here and they're like, oh, that's like, well, what if we did this, and like trying to haggle price. And she's like, the price is what the price is, and that dictates a certain clientele, which she's fine with, which you should be fine with. But that's ultimately, I think that will make more businesses healthy if they price themselves correctly. So my strategy, was to look at the leaders in this space in Richmond specifically, and I just price myself the same, to be honest. But even at this point, 4 months in, I'm considering a price increase on things. Just, it was nice to give like founding members what the price is here, which I have no problem sharing. Unlimited, which I'm considering getting away from unlimited too, just in terms of like valuing your product. Kind of devalues it, but unlimited here is $165, 3 times a week is $150, 2 times a week is $130, and a 10 class punch card is $120. Saturdays are always a free class on those limited memberships, so that's just a value add to those sessions. So 3 times is really 4 times, 2 times is really 3 times, and members love it because they're like, oh, free. And I'm like, yeah, it is free. You're welcome. But even with that, I'm thinking about pricing up just because it just translates to a lot more things. Like pricing up means, yeah, I might be able to get a sauna. And you better believe if I have a sauna in here, the price is. But like stuff like that where I just don't think people need to enjoy the money conversation a little bit. That's such a weird thing to say, but
be comfortable with it.
Be comfortable with it,
Especially if your rent goes up or your electricity goes up or you start offering more services than you did originally, like you have to
look at Netflix.
Inflation, right? You have to cover expenses, and some gyms have been the same rate for 5-10 years.
That's crazy.
And it's like, well, either their classes got worse, like their product got worse. Right. Or somehow they kept from being touched by inflation, but everyone's income has gone up since then.
And the rent on your building
has gone up.
If you're lucky, you're getting like, the average is probably like, 3% escalations?
Yeah.
So like, obviously you're going to grow by more than 3%, I hope. But, like your price has got to, like, and the Netflix, when I said Netflix, I used to pay $10 for Netflix. You know how much I'm paying now? I'm paying like 15. Yeah. Didn't bat an eye when they said, hey, we're pricing you up by like $1.50.
Oh, because you got all that content now they're producing, right? Yeah.
Right.
The product is better.
Product's better.
You couldn't see yourself without it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, right?
That's the other thing, right? And that's the same way like Verizon or Comcast or any of these people work, is they get you in on that 2-year subscription, and then it's like, oh, hey, bumping it, It's like a lot of affiliate owners are complaining about like ASCAP, the music licensing. And ASCAP comes in with this like super low rate for you in the beginning. And then guess what? 5 years later, it's like 1,000% of that. Yeah, so it's, but there's ways around paying ASCAP, like there's other subscriptions you can pay that are much cheaper.
Yeah.
So
diffusing that cost over another platform.
Yep, totally.
Definitely.
Totally. So
if you were to have a profession other than this one, what would it be? Just like perfect world, you always wanted to try X or thought it'd be cool to be a something. I don't know.
I really think that I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And so this is my first project. So I'm 25. This is my first project. Certainly not my last. I'm like, I don't want to say that I'm getting bored with this, but I'm a little bored with this. I love it. Don't get me wrong.
That's the curse, right? People tend to go wide
right.
faster than they should when they should have gone deep, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And so I'm still going deep here. I'm only 4 months in, and so I got a long way to go. But I think another project is somewhere in the future, maybe a different industry,
really,
or at least maybe furthering what I have here, or just like I said, the YouTube tutorial.
Yeah, branching off, right?
Yeah, branching off, like apparel.
Yeah.
I love apparel. Oh man,
yeah.
Dude, we got some really cool stuff I'm working on for the winter, and so I'll send you a hoodie. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But I think something different, and my wife hates me for it. Oh my gosh, dude. She
doesn't like hoodies?
No, well, not the hoodies, right? I'm like, hon, I'm thinking about this new idea, and she's like, this is your last idea. This gym is your last.
You're still in your first idea. Yeah.
You just started your first idea, and it will be your last. And I'm like,
it can be stressful, I imagine.
It was stressful for her,
especially for her, yeah, because she doesn't see exactly what you see, obviously.
Yeah, and putting the finances on the line is the big one, right?
You're risking some of her security, right?
Right, exactly. So I think once I've proven that this is, it works.
Hey, look, we're okay.
Right, we're okay. We're fine. Which I feel like that, I feel like that even 4 months in, like, even though we're like slightly strapped for cash, it's like, I have been smart enough financially to set things up properly to where it's like that profit first method. Have you ever read that book? Mm-hmm. Yeah, great book. I read it and it was like, this is a no-brainer. I should pay myself and I should put the profit aside first.
That's one of Two Brains' recommended books.
Right. Otherwise, like I'm running a nonprofit.
Yeah. And you can make more at McDonald's.
Right. Yeah. And I'm like, this is not what I got into business for, so.
Awesome.
Right. I recommend people reading that Profit First book. Yeah. That's probably a pretty good book, especially. So I come from a mathematics background.
Okay.
So if people don't come from like a numbers background, I highly recommend reading Profit First, and I think that'll help you get your mind around like running your finances of your gym well, or just your business well, so that you're not constantly strapped for cash. You're not like at the end of or like it's a payday for your staff and you're like, holy crap, I don't know if I have enough for payroll.
Taking out loans for payroll.
Loans. Oh man.
It's funny because some of these business owners probably didn't manage their personal finances very well either. And they open up a business and like, well, what makes you think those habits have gone away?
Totally.
All of a sudden a business will make you budget things correctly, right?
Right, exactly. And I've always been good about like my paycheck comes in, 20% immediately goes to paying myself into savings or something. And that's just kind of translated over to business-wise, where just constantly profit first, owner's compensation. Now let's see how much we have for like operating expenses and all of this other stuff. And what do we need to cut in order to get to where,
smart.
Can we cut anything? If you can't, you better figure it out.
Yeah, that's right.
You got a business to run.
Put that pressure on, right?
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
I can get weird, man.
Yeah?
I can get weird. I think.
Does your wife know how weird you are?
She might be just as weird.
Oh.
And I would probably say, like, I'm not like completely oddball. Like I know how to talk to people. And,
sure.
But like in terms of like
being an entrepreneur, you have to be a little a little bit off. I think.
Yeah. That's probably true. So I'd probably say like a 9 or 10.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, 9 or 10.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Do you have an example of something?
A lot of it's inappropriate stuff that probably.
Gotcha.
There were some things that I said and did in college, even looking back now, like in terms of like being in social settings where like I would just say some things that were like, why the hell would you ever say that?
Yeah.
And honestly, why did anybody want to be friends during that?
It's funny when you look back, if you're a different person which thank goodness, I don't ever want to look back and say I'm the same person
For
as
sure,
I was. But
yeah.
if you look back, I think it's a good sign if you're truly embarrassed of who you were then and you feel like you're better now. Like,
Yeah.
because I do that all the time. I look back and I'm like, oh, that was awful. That was like 2 years ago. It's like, it wasn't that long ago. Like if I think of an event that I was maybe really awkward in or just said something like, and I'll still like play those scenarios in my head and like almost kind of feel bad about them. Like I still kind of feel bad that I was like an idiot 5 years ago. I need to reach out to someone and tell them I'm an idiot.
I very recently had a conversation with somebody who said the same thing. They were like, you know what? We were just talking about what keeps you up at night. Like what is your, because I have a lot of entrepreneurial friends and they, so the mind's constantly going, constantly thinking. It's hard to turn off, like you're constantly thinking about new business or your current business.
The coffee IV is flowing.
Right. Yeah. Like I have an 8 a.m. coffee, 9 a.m. coffee, 2, 3, maybe a 4 if I'm feeling a little sluggish before I coach.
It's tough after the afternoon for me. But
yeah. Like if I'm coaching 3 hours, 4 hours in a row.
Yeah.
In the afternoon.
You got to bring it.
Yeah. Got to bring it. Come on. Coffee. Energize.
Yeah.
But we were talking about what keeps you up at night, and they said the same thing. They were like, yeah, I look back on those times, and man, I just think, man, how the hell did I fuck that up? I'm like, man, you need to let that go.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's not like I regret it. Like I'm thankful that I can look back and learn from it. But at the same time, it's like, it's this cringe factor.
Yeah.
It's like watching, the British Office. It's like all cringe, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, ooh, like I've got those moments in my life that I'm like, ooh, like I just cringe when I think about them.
Totally.
And it's like, thank goodness I'm not that person.
Totally.
The worst case would be like I look back and be like, yeah, I was pretty cool back, like, and not have any awareness and just
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, I look back like college, high school, even like a couple of years post-college. Even now, I could probably admit to myself, like there was, like especially in high school, there was this level of arrogance that I had. That was like,
high school arrogance. Yeah.
How the fuck did I even get through? I mean,
I would have beat myself.
And it's funny, I would have beat my ass back then. And I've talked to my mentor that I had in high school since then. And I'm like, man, I was pretty arrogant back then. He's like, yeah, man, you were super arrogant. He just never told me at the time.
Yeah,
it's
like, why did you tell me? It's like, 'cause it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you just kind of got to live and learn. But what keeps me up at night, man, I mean, 10 p.m. rolls around sometimes. And it's like the witching hour where like everything I didn't think about all day comes into play. And it's like, I'll just start shooting off emails. I'll start shooting off texts, Instagram DMs, scrolling through Instagram, looking at content, and then I'll just like start thinking of new ideas, writing them down, and like all this other stuff. And then finally it's like, all right, I'm tired, go to bed.
Gotta settle in mind. I find soft music or something while I'm laying in bed helps me from just drifting. Like otherwise I'll just, like you said, just start thinking of all the different things in the day and thinking about how weird I was back in the day and how cringy it feels, I gotta hide from those thoughts, in bed. So where can people find you if they wanted to know more or they wanted to catch up with you? Like, do you have your favorite spot on Tuesday you're always at, or obviously here?
Yeah, hit me up at River City Fit. I'm always down to kick it. I just might not be here when you come here, so make sure to hit me up, 804-904-9110. Jacob at River City Fit at rivercityfit.com is a great way to to hit me up. Instagram DMs, I'm always free.
Slide into those DMs.
Yeah, slide into the DMs.
Is that at River City?
At RC Fit Official.
Okay.
Yep.
Official.
Hit me up on TikTok. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, really?
I don't have a TikTok.
They say that's the next thing.
Should get a TikTok.
They say if you're there now, in 5 years, it'll be what Instagram is. Yeah. So you better be there now. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, people think so. I mean, at least for middle schoolers, if you want to reach them,
Not in that business.
right. So, I think, where else do I hang out? I mean, I I don't really go and hang out places, usually just read in my home. But really love Union Market. Shout out to Union Market. Nice. They are awesome. That's actually probably where I hang out all the time. Actually, I'll probably go hang out there after this, But great sandwiches, great beer. So
Sandwiches and beer, you can't go wrong.
yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and chatting. It was good.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the RVA Affiliate Collective podcast. This is Joe Ellis. Be sure to follow us on iTunes and give us a subscribe. Also check us out on YouTube under the same name, RVA Affiliate Collective. And don't forget our shop, rvaaffiliatecollective.org. Thank you. Have a good one.